Hello, welcome to the show. Welcome back to, let me do that again. Hello and welcome to the Rebecca Saunders Show. I am here with the fabulous Mel Browne. Mel, thank you so much for joining me on today's show.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
I am very much looking forward to this. I was digging up the archives for different reasons in the photos for a newsletter the other day. And there's a photo of us from way back in 2013, I think it was, back in like She Business days. And I was like, oh, look at us. We've grown so much in the last 10 years.
God, that would have changed so much. Yeah.
So much so. But Mel, I wanted to bring you on the podcast today for a couple of reasons. Like you, for me, are just the go-to person for just understanding finances and wealth creation, I guess, for business owners and women in general. And I think for me today, I want to deep dive into that because it's something that is very much overlooked when it comes to videographers, creatives in the creative space, very much so in terms of not paying themselves right, not putting stuff aside, where and why did you pivot your career to start with to go into, you know what, I'm sick of this accounting stuff. I want to do something different and I want to focus on helping women get financially savvy?
So I think I very much wanted to be a lawyer when I was growing up, and simply because I think I actually wanted to be a policeman and then a hairdresser and all these sort of things. And I got moved into a lawyer because that's what smart girls did. My dad very much pushed me into that. And when I realized after a few years of study that so wasn't for me, I was so scared to tell him. And he said, well, there's law in accounting. Why don't you do that? Because he was an accountant. And I ended up doing something because I happened to be good at it. And I was completely lost rather than people that have a passion for something. So I think part of the reason why I love working with women and I've ended up doing what I'm doing is because when I went through my divorce at age 33, it kind of made me tear apart everything and look at everything to go, well, what do I want to do with my life now? If I get the opportunity to reset and start again, what do I want to do? And I realized that I loved business. And so I figured out, well, being an accountant is simply a conduit to help women create amazing businesses and grow their wealth. And I did that through my creativity. I did that through writing books and doing things differently than other accountants were doing.
Yeah.
And that led naturally into wealth creation and to the financial planning side. And it was only, I think I'd always decided at age 50, I'll just get rid of it. Do you know how you pick an age in your head that you're going to do something?
Yep. It's on the vision board. It's right there.
Exactly right. And I remember having two conversations, one with a very good friend and one with Lauren Law, who worked with me. And both of them, I'd had a compressed nerve in my neck and I was really pushing it, but my body was kind of going, you can't. And both of them at some point said, why? Like, why 50? I don't understand why you're holding on to that magical number. And it's funny how you get told stuff or you get asked that question at the right time. And I'd met Tina Tower, who teaches online courses at that point, and a few other people that were doing interesting things. And I think all of that snowballed together to me going, I can't do this a moment longer.
Yeah.
And I picked up the phone to two people to sell it because I was quite genuinely, how quickly can I sell it? One of them, and there were two people that I genuinely thought would be a good fit. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. But one of them said yes, and I had sold that business and I was out within 3 months of making that decision. And I'm so glad that I did.
That's super fast, right? I've been doing a lot of super fast for a business sale specifically, but a lot of the things I think, particularly now, that was pre-COVID you did that, but I think for me, COVID for me has gone, well, life's too short, to be doing something that is a hard grind and a hard graft that doesn't bring me joy.
You are not alone with that. Yeah.
So,
and I think for me with that decision pre-COVID, the reason that it was so fast was because my business was always ready for sale. So I loved business and I applied those same principles to my business. So it was a great business. It was profitable. It had great cash flow. It had incredible systems. So it was really attractive to someone buying it. So that for me, that, if that's one tip I can give, is that you want your business to always be ready for sale, so that if you are at that position like I was, you can quite literally quickly go, take it.
Yeah, so it's yours. Yeah, here's
and get
the
a good
thing.
price for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I remember you doing that and going through that process, and you and I filmed the first iteration of your financial adulting plan. And I still remember you had the nerve in your neck, and I was like, you're pushing through so much stuff to make this happen.
Yeah.
And you've got
I think I filmed it on the day that the business sale went through. The neck was still hurting me. I'm like, ooh. I think it was an out of body experience.
You wanted to get it done, and I could see the
Yes.
passion. And in recording that, I was like, oh, I want to be part of this. Like this is a whole different way of thinking things through, which for me, having built up my business, and I was around people that talked about that kind of thing, but you talked about it in such a different way that I think I was the second person to sign up, wasn't I, to your program?
One of
I was
the
gutted I wasn't number
original.
one.
Yeah, you were one of the very first, which I loved. You were like, yep, I'm hearing it and I want it. Yeah, I love that about you.
Yeah, and I'm still learning stuff even now, like years on, going through that, which I think is so super important, that it's not a one size fits all and it's always changing.
Yes. Yeah, that's really important.
Evolution.
Yeah. Yeah, because finance is not a one size fits all approach. So you should be able to adapt it to where you are next. And as you grow and develop that financial literacy and confidence and take more steps, it's about that program or that solution growing with you, which is exactly what you've experienced, which I love.
Yeah,
you're the
very
modest.
much. I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways I think I've got, which when I tell people it's what I do and point them in the direction of you to learn more, is when you told me, and you teach it in the program, I know, and you talk about it publicly, spend $1, put $1 in savings or in the stock market. And I was like, ooh, that makes me think twice about what I'm buying, and it makes such a difference. There's little hacks along the way. So for me, and doing the work that I do with videographers, the creatives are always fabulous at creative and really, really bad at the business side. It's not something that comes naturally like it does to you and I in terms of how to run that business, how to do those systems. What are the things that they can be doing and thinking about now, listening to our conversation, to actually have that impact on their business and their financial future?
So I think there is a thing with creatives that they think that they're bad with money, or that they think that they're bad with numbers, because it's almost like through school, we're segregated. You guys are the ones that are good at maths and science. You guys are the ones that are good with the lighter subjects. And it's such BS, because I have met the most incredible creatives that are so good with the numbers side of the business, because they bring that innate creativity to cash flow. They bring that innate creativity to profit and finding strategic solutions. So what I would say to you to start is to break that money story around, because I'm a creative, I'm therefore not good with numbers. I think I'm a creative person. I'm someone that started off writing with my left hand and was switched to my right hand. So I think as a result, I use the left and right hand, right side of my brain. And I see that as an extraordinary strength. So not trying to pigeon ourselves into a box and thinking, well, therefore, it would be easy for me to say I'm an accountant. I'm not a creative person. Absolutely not. I'm an accountant and a creative. I know you're a videographer, you're a creative, and you're incredibly strategic. We've got to break this or that mindsets. Yeah. And then there's no getting around it. You've got to understand the business side of business. So that's understanding the numbers, and then the activity that you need to be doing as a result. And that's where you can bring your creativity. Once you understand, right, if I want to grow my business, I need to understand the pricing, psychology of pricing. I can bring my creativity to that. Once I know that want to grow my business, I need to understand about leads and conversion rates. Great. I can bring my creativity to the activity to do to influence that.
Mm.
So it's not that I need to remove my creative brain now to switch onto business mode. It's I need to embrace that side of my business so that I can have that really well-rounded, robust business. And it doesn't need to look perfect. You know, I'm sitting here. I've just gone for a run, so I'm incredibly shiny. I have my washing next to me and my husband's bag behind me. It doesn't have to look perfect.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just about getting it done and getting it done in such a way that you can keep doing that thing that's important to you.
Okay, that's for me. That's the boring business is a profitable business, right? Like if you can just get that done and make it work, you can have fun doing the creative stuff, which is where we want to be, in the joy.
And I'd rather be creative with $100,000 in the bank than creative with $1 in the bank. You know, that's just me, because that gives me the peace of mind to be more creative. So.
And so I know you are so creative, Mel, in such a way that this is an inspiring way of watching a business grow, of understanding finances. And I know following on social media, it's something that you go, oh, that's explained in such an easy to understand way. Like, you know, it's very relatable and you have that craft of doing it. So you definitely work in both sides. But in moving your business into, let's share this, let's get people financially savvy, you've pushed yourself way out of your comfort zone. Way out of your comfort zone to reach the milestones that you've reached with your financial adulting plan program. What was that like, going, okay, I need to now put myself in front of the camera as an introvert and be out there? Like, what was going through your mind as you were doing all of that?
It was just so hard. So I'm not naturally good in front of the camera. And that comes from things that happened to me when I was younger, where it was, you know, consent and all sorts of stuff. So for me, having a camera in front of my face is something that I am already going to react poorly with anyway. But the problem is now you have to embrace this. So I would much rather, and I tried it for a long time, just write blogs, just write books, just do that side of it and hide. And I tried for so long to do that. But unfortunately, I say unfortunately because I'd still rather hide and do that.
I like it.
We're a visual medium now. So, and I said to Lauren, who works with me only last week, I went, oh God, you know, how am I at this place where I'm still having to be all about being in front of the camera?
Yeah.
But it's just simply what it is. And for me, what I do now, when I first started doing it, I remember when we looked back at it, and this was probably 10 years ago, I would be so nervous. I'd squint whenever I thought. My very first TV appearance, I worked out that when I think, I look down. So I just looked shifty. So for me, it was watching all of that back and understanding how I came across. And then luckily, when COVID hit, I just decided to just get out of my need to serve, overrode my ego and that concern about how I'd be perceived and having a camera in front of my face. So I just showed up for, I reckon, 6 months. Every few days I would show up. Sometimes I didn't have makeup on. Sometimes the hair wasn't done, because it was so important for me to get out there and demystify the information that the government was coming out with and changing so regularly. And I feel like that was a baptism of fire, where it just enabled me quite literally to get over myself, to realize that people don't care. If the information's good, yes, the sound quality has to be great. Yes, it's helpful if it's lighting. And certainly that's going to make me feel a whole lot better watching it back. But ultimately, people just want to be delivered in a timely manner, in a way that they understand, so that they can be moved on. So now I batch it. So once a week, I collate a whole bunch of ideas. And then once a week, I spend a few hours just doing it every single week. So it's simply a task like any other task. And I'm able just to be really creative for that morning, because that's all I'm doing. So I get rid of all the distractions. I prepare, I have great lighting, I get my hair done the day before. and I just go for it. And I now enjoy it more because I've allowed the time for it. And because I've kind of created, or I've discovered that thing that I don't feel silly. It feels very uniquely me. And for me, it's embracing all of that. So I use chocolates, I lip sync, but to stuff that I have an affinity with. And I'm a total dag. And as long as I stay that way, I think I'm okay.
Well, you're sort of staying in who you are, and you're able to do it from home, which I know is something that you
Yes.
love, that you can just make that happen. And
Yes.
you're right. It's that piece of, well, this is who I am normally. So as long as I can show up that way and not try and be someone different, like, it definitely works. And I love that you batch it once a week, because I think a lot of people get overwhelmed in terms of,
yes,
oh my gosh, I've got to show up every day doing this stuff. It's a consistency thing, and actually you can schedule it and just get it done. Yeah.
And it's overwhelming, the amount of content you need now. It is genuinely overwhelming. So to batch it in that way means that you can then schedule it and you don't have to think about it for the rest of the week. And I know other people that batch it, they might batch a month's worth of content, but that once a week or once a fortnight just works beautifully for me. And it's having experts like yourself that have been able to help with lighting and equipment and all that sort of stuff, so that I can do it from home,
make it
rather
happen.
than having to, because if I had to do that in a studio every week, it would
You
just
wouldn't
be
get it done.
prohibitive.
It wouldn't
No,
happen.
exactly. Yeah.
And I love that it's, you can be you can do it the way you want to do it. You can show up and grow your business exactly as you want to grow it, right? Which I think is such a fun thing that we've got the ability as business owners to do now. And when you do that, you have ridiculously crazy results, right? Like, did you think that the program would get to where it is now and hit that 7-figure mark in a short period of time? Like, had you any idea that leaning into that for you would get you where you are today?
Definitely not, because I've been in the online course space for a long time. Like, I had a very small course with More Money for Shoes. I had a very small course with the Unfuck Your Finances. So I have had that before, but they were like $20 courses and 50. When Tina, who I've worked with, suggested, it should be this much because you're putting all of this content in and it's going to have that result, I thought, oh, I don't know about this. But it's that consistency of showing up. It's kind of no different to batching your content. It's showing up, it's tweaking it, but not throwing it out just because you're bored with it, but continually doing the thing and add more and more steps, and being able to be super creative because you've got those incredible systems in place. So you can kind of really go crazy with the other stuff, knowing that, okay, I'm not going to touch this because that's working, but everything else I can play with. But yeah, I never envisaged that we would get here so quickly, but now I'm impatient for the next step. So I have to keep reminding myself that we got here quickly.
Yeah, completely. I love that. You're definitely going to need a heap more frogs. Like, I don't know how you get through all of those frogs that you have in the jar that you eat.
It's problematic. I need to give them away.
I love it. What I'm taking away from like our short chat today is that theme of just getting the foundations right, being consistent and tweaking it to you is applicable to both the finances, personal and business, but also in the way that you can grow a business and make it yours, which is so exciting when you can get those basics right.
Absolutely. And it's like anything. My husband used to be involved with the world of sport, and he still is to many respects. But he talks about how great athletes are relentless when it comes to the basics. They don't stop perfecting that. They'll add all the trick stuff, but they are relentless in making sure that the basics are always right. And I think in business, it's being relentless to make sure those basics are right so that we can play and be super creative and really let those juices go nuts, knowing that we're doing all of those things, whether that's finance, business, what have you.
Yeah. So it's very easy to forget that those foundations still need your attention, because it does get boring. And boring makes profit, right? It's just, that works. So Mel, thank you so much for diving into this. Like, I feel that we've touched on a lot, and we could deep dive so much more, but I don't want to blow people's minds in the way that we could, deep dive down a rabbit hole into all of these things.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you've got my financial adulting plan. I know it. You launch it a few times a year.
Yeah.
When are we seeing the doors open again in 2023? And how can people find out more about you and all the beauty that you offer in the wealth and finance space?
Yeah. Well, we're going to give you a link for specifically for your peeps so they can jump on and find out more about me. But if you jump onto the waitlist for the My Financial Adulting Plan, that opens in January. But in the meantime, I've got shares masterclasses and property masterclasses and ways to find more income in the next 12 months with 50 different tips. So we're going to give you links for that, so that if you want something in the meantime, just to kind of put your foot in, you can get started.
Amazing. And I do love those bite-sized things. Definitely helped me along the way. And I know hundreds of people that it's helped. I've seen that happen in real life. So we definitely will be putting those links in the show notes. I've got that one ready to go. And Instagram for following you for all these fun tips. Still at More Money for Shoes?
More Money for Shoes. Yep. Still at More Money for Shoes. That may change in the coming months, but yes, still More Money for Shoes.
Yeah, I love that. And the shoe thing's real, which I love very dearly, very dearly. Mel, thank you so much for joining me on today's show.
Thanks for having me.